Hello guys and welcome to my new video. Set championships are approaching and today I have a ton of different deck variations from your favorite meta decks to choose from to pick the one you like the most. Have fun? Let's go! We will start off the day with Purple Steel, and with recent success at DLC Bologna, it's understandable that many people will bring Purple Steel to set championships, and I think it's a very good pick. I have 7 different builds for you. Let's have a look at the first one. I recently joined the Flower Farm family. It's a secret Discord hosted by JDRR, who is the godfather of Purple Steel and Blurple. I will link his Metafy in the video description below, where you find very detailed guides on Purple Steel and Blurple. Looking at his most recent Purple Steel list, we see he's aiming for consistency. Lots of 4-offs in his list and only a couple 2 and 3-offs in the deck. What really stands out is that he's dropped down to 3 Calhouns and the number of evasive characters in the deck. We have 4 copies of the 2-drop Smee, Genie Dragon, Dumbo, Genie, the Draw Genie, and of course 5-cost Elsa. For removal, we have Fire Cannons and 4 copies of Strength of a Raging Fire. For some reach, Cobra and the White Rose. And to boost up your challenging, we have 3 copies of Madame Mim Skater, giving your characters +1 challenger as long as Madame Mim is on board, so you usually don't exert her to quest and just use her to buff all your other characters. For card draw, we have also 4 copies of Yzma in the list. I think overall this is a very good stock list, so you can decide to go from there, build it to your liking, adjust the numbers of cards, add cards you really like to see in your Purple Steel list. Unfortunately, I don't have all the Dreambone or Ink deck links, so if you like the decks you see in this video, just pause and make a screenshot and then you can build it for yourself. And we jump to the next Purple Steel build. So this list I got from Ink Decks and I think it's from Bologna. It's a very well balanced and consistent list, a little different to the one we saw from JDR before. We also have some evasive power with Jafar, Genie Dragon, of course the Dumbo and Yzma package. We have challenge buffing cards with Madame Mim Skater and also the 3-drop Jafar questing for 2 as well. For removal, also the Strength of Raging Fire and Fire Cannons split, and we have 2 copies of the 5-cost Belle in the deck to move damage, which can be also strong. The only problem with this deck is we don't have many characters holding so much damage, so Belle isn't always easy to pull off and then move all the 3 damage she could move. But overall, I think this is a very solid list from Bologna. If you like it, pause here, take a screenshot and build it for yourself, and we go on to the next Purple Steel build. This list I got from Earl Fabian himself. He just sent it to me via Discord and this was his list he played in Bologna. He ended, I think they won 5-3, he told me. And unfortunately he didn't make day 2, but he told me that they consistently beat Blurple and always on the draw. I think he went up against 4 Blurple opponents and managed to beat 3 on the draw. Let's have a look at some card choices in his deck. It's a toolbox deck with a lot of one-off characters, one-off cards like Yelena, Lilo, buffing, challenging. We have as a top-end card the Steel Jasmine gaining evasive in your turn, and if you discard a card you can give her +3 challenger. And we also have Strength of Raging Fire, Fire the Cannons and Hypnotic Strength. And what's interesting in his list is the 2 copies of Helga Sinclair. She is basically a hero for character quests for 1. She gets evasive in your turn and she has challenger +3. So she can take out a Dumbo in 1 swing, survive, and you can leave the 3 damage on her to remove it then with Belle. And I think she's a pretty interesting tech card on turn 2 against all those evasive decks, because you can buff her strength even more with Yelena or with Lilo or Hypnotic Strength to take out even stronger evasive characters. Overall, I think this list is really good. Also with Madame Mim, Elephant, 2 copies, you can bounce dogs, draw more cards, you can bounce your other characters you need. to save them, protect them, heal them up and play them again. So overall, I think it's a pretty strong toolbox purple steel list. Thanks for Earlmeister for sending me his list. I will link his YouTube channel also in the video description below. If you like his list, screenshot it, build it, play it, have fun, and we go to the next purple steel deck. Another take from JDRR to play purple steel in set 9, this time with the 7 dwarfs mine. We have Happy as additional dwarf and additional evasive threat, and the rest is pretty much standard JDRR purple steel build with Madame Skater, evasive Smee, Dumbo Isma split, and Trank the Raging Fire as a removal. As additional, I had to say like lore threat, because you gain 1 lore at the beginning of each turn if you have a mine in play. But also it works as kind of a fire the cannons every turn, so you can ping other characters and finish them off. For example, I think it's a really interesting approach in playing purple steel. To be fair, it's not my type of playstyle. I kind of have hard times playing mines. I don't know the right timing, when to drop it, when to use its effect. But I think if you're familiar with playing 7 Dwarfs Mine from Diggy Diggy Hole maybe, it could be a cool purple steel list to surprise your opponent, and dropping like 1 or 2 mines in a turn and gaining lore. Your opponent is forced to exert and challenge into those mines, so it opens up other possibilities for you to re-challenge those characters and take them out. Interesting list, I really like it. If you want to copy it, pause here, copy it, and yeah. We go to the next purple steel deck. I found this one also from Bologna, and what really sticks out here is the Rafiki as a 1-drop, as additional challenger, and the 2 copies of the Steel Arthur. It's a 2-drop inkable, 2 strength, 2 willpower, and he quests for 2. This card can help you get over the finish line in the late game, or you can drop him early to start racing your opponent with lore, gaining lore fast, because usually purple steel decks lack of characters with 2 or more lore for a quest. So Arthur can help here. Other than that, this list is pretty much standard. We have Reach with Cobra, we have the Dumbo Isma package, we have 5-cost Belle, 5-cost Elsa, removal with Strength, Raging Fire, and Fire the Cannons, and the rest we've seen before. But I really like the approach with Arthur to have an additional low-cost 2 quester. Really strong deck, I think. Yeah, and we go to the next one. I also found this list on Inkdex, and if you look closely, you don't find any Dumbos in this list. Yeah, purple steel also works without the elephant. What we have in this list though is 4 copies of Lawrence. He is a 3-drop inkable character. When he's undamaged, he has 4 strength and he quests for 2. He trades easily into almost any other character, and he's a perfect target for the 5-cost Belle, which we also have 4 copies of it in this list. For additional Cadra instead of Genie, this player runs Dolores Madrigal, a 4-cost inkable character, 3 strength, 3 willpower, quest for 2, and when your opponent has an exerted character on board, you can draw a card of Dolores Madrigal's ability. Other than that, I think this is also pretty much standard. We have evasive power with Genie Dragon, Smee, 5-cost Elsa, of course, to buff challenging. We have hypnotic strength, of course, and the rest is standard purple steel. I really like the No Dumbo approach, because you know me, I don't have any Dumbos, and I really like this list. And yeah, we move on to the last list, and I want to showcase my favorite build right now, of course without Dumbos, and this is probably the list I will be taking to set championships the upcoming weekend. And yeah, this is my list I'm testing right now. I have like 50 or 60 games in with this list, and I really like it because we are good into most matchups. And I say most because I kind of struggle on the draw against the green-blue decks, but Blurple is very beatable, Amber Steel Aggro is beatable, and in the mirror this deck also shines with its consistency. I run the classic 1-drop package, then Calhoun, Doc of course. For evasive power I have the 2-drop Smee in the list, the Genie Dragon, of course Genie, drawing cards, 5-cost Elsa, and for some reach, the Cobra and the White Rose. For buffing challenges, I run 4 copies of Lilo, and she is so good because against Amber Steel, you can just buff your characters. You can ignore the Tiana tax, not paying, and do damage anyway. I'm really comfortable with this list right now. It's pretty good into like most decks, I would say. And I will very likely take it into my first set championships on coming weekend. If you want to copy my list, I will link it in the video description below. And that's it for my purple steel builds for today. I hope you like the purple steel builds, and we jump to the next color combo for more meta deck variation. Next up, Amber Steel, and even though with the classic steel song gone, Amber Steel Aggro is in such a good place right now in the current meta going into set championships. I have 4 different builds. They all look like the same, but I just want to point out those cards, make them unique. Let's start with list number 1 from Amber Steel Aggro. First list from Bologna, and when we look at it, we have all those key pieces from an Amber Steel Aggro list. We have Aurora, we have Doc, we have Tiana, we have Nala, we have removal with Fire the Cannons, Triangular Raging Fire, and we have some Bodyguard power with Pluto. What we are missing here is the 1-drop Daisy. Instead of Daisy, this player ran 4 copies of the 1-drop Pluto. When you exert him, you can play the next character for 1 in class. So you can ramp up, play your characters for less ink or for free. And a possible line could be like Aurora in turn 1, quest into a free Mulan, and then drop 2 Plutos. And in the next turn, if your Aurora lives, you can play Tiana for free or a 3-drop Lady for free, drop another character, and go from there. What's also interesting is 4 copies of When Will My Life Begin, a 3-cost inkable song. Chosen character can't challenge during their next turn, and you can draw a card. So it's additional card draw, which this deck lacks sometimes, with only Doc in this deck reliable for your card draw. Other than that, this list is pretty strong. You can cheat out characters with Pluto's ability and just play them for free. I really like the list. If you want to copy it, as always, like, pause the video right here, take a screenshot and build this list, because I think this has something on it, and I really like the Pluto approach here. And we go to the next Amber Steel Aggro list. This list looks more classic to us, with the Daisy back in the deck, and also the Rhino Shift package is in this list. We see Sleepy as a one-off dwarf Bodyguard. I don't know, maybe to confuse your opponent thinking you played a dog, but it's a Bodyguard instead. Sleepy is here. And what I really like is the 2-drop Bodyguard Jim Deere. If you open like Aurora into Tiana, you can then Lady into your 2-drop Bodyguard with Sleepy or Jim Deere and protect your characters from being challenged into it and removed. I really like this list. This is a more classic approach with Rhino and Daisy back in the mix. And we also have Pete Referee to block actions, because what they all have in common, those Amber Steel Aggro decks, they are allergic to Under the Sea as a mass removal because they have so low strength. But other than that, I think you can raise almost every deck with this list, and I really like the approach, the classic approach with Daisy and the Rhino Shift package. If you like it, pause it here, screenshot, build the deck, and we jump to the next Amber Steel Aggro build. Again, a more traditional Amber Steel Aggro build with the Rhino Shift package and Daisy, and we see Calhoun is in the mix for some challenging power to take out opposing characters and gain lore of her. Other than that, this list is pretty much Amber Steel Aggro standard with 3 fighter cannons and 4 Triangular Raging Fire. And we have another removal song with 2 copies of World's Greatest Criminal Mind, which is pretty strong against all those green-blue decks. Rising, you can take out the Clarabelle, all those big bodies from the green-blue list. Scrooge McDuck, John Silver, Basil, whatever character has 5 strength or more, you can take out. I really like the approach because green-blue can be a menace if they are on the Baymax build and can sing an early under the sea, but you are prepared with World's Greatest Criminal Mind to get rid of those big characters and prevent singing under the sea early. If you like it, like always, pause the video here, copy it, and this list, I can tell it's top 8 in Bologna, not for no reason, and I really like this approach with World's Greatest Criminal Mind included. You have to cut a character here or there, but overall it's a solid and consistent list, and I also like the Calhoun inclusion here for some challenging power against the mirror maybe. If you want to copy it, yeah, do it. And we go to the last Amber Steel list in today's video. This also is more classic, but we see 2 cards we've not seen today. There's the one-drop Nala, which is a 0-4 character, and I can see the reasoning behind including Nala here, because 4 health is hard to take out if you have an exerted Tiana on board, and you can gain lore slowly with Nala. And we also have 4 copies of the Steel John Silver 3-drop inkable character, and when you play him, you can choose an opposing character and he can challenge the next turn. So you can like kind of protect your characters from being challenged from the strongest opposing character, and he can challenge and you can quest out easily and finish the game hopefully before your opponent gets his board back, gets his strength back. But John Silver is a good tool to interrupt your opponent from challenging. If you like those Amber Steel lists, give them a try. They are all very similar to each other, but they have unique cards in it, which makes them very good into different decks and like field of decks. If you go to set championship and you know what you're facing, pick your poison, pick your deck, and which is according to the decks you reckon with facing there and which fits your playstyle more. And we go to the next color combo with more deck variations from meta decks. So green blue is up next, and Emerald Sapphire is in a weird spot right now, because just 2 weeks ago it was one of the high praised decks of all Lorcana in the current format, beating all the meta decks, and it kind of fell off a bit after Bologna because all the other decks adapted and the winnable matchups are not so winnable anymore, because Blurple added a couple monstros or more monstros to deal with those big bodies, and the aggro decks, they just know if they can prevent your shift line on turn 4, turn 5, you can't sing under the sea and then you're just dead. But I got you covered, guys. I have 4 different green-blue lists, looking all a little bit different from each other. So you can pick the one list you like, and I still think green-blue is a good pick for set championships in your local area. But it's not an easy deck to pick up on the spot. You need to learn the playlines and practice with the deck before taking it to a tournament. But let's have a look at the lists I prepared for you. So looking at the first list, or at green-blue decks in general, the core of the deck, like 50 to 55 cards, are almost always the same. We have the Clarabelle Shift package, we have the Donald Gentleman for drawing cards, we have John Silver, Basil, some lists are running Hades, and we have Ramp with Tipo and Sail, and of course You're Welcome and the Triple H Under the Sea combo to sand the entire opposing board under the deck. What we see here, this list goes all in on the Baymax shift line with 3 copies of Baymax. You can play him in turn 3. You just shift him on your one-drop character, and in combination with Tipo you can sing Under the Sea, which we play 4 times in this list in turn 3 to get rid of against aggro decks. Especially on the draw against aggro decks, this deck folds usually if you don't find an early Under the Sea or an early shift line, and that's what I was saying in the intro for green-blue decks. The decks adapted, and if they take out your one-drop character, you can shift and sing an early Under the Sea, and so they prevent and like protect their own board. Other than that, we play 3 copies of Hades here, and for additional ramp we have Pleakly in the mix. When you play him, you can send one of your characters into your inkwell to ramp in your turn and play your bigger characters earlier. If you want to play this deck, I will link it in the video description below, and we jump to the next green blue list, which looks a little different from this one. I've shown you this list before. It's the only green blue deck from DLC Bologna making top 16, and it's one of my fellow Austrian players, Mysti, aka Thomas Angelma. And if we look at the list, the core remains the same. We have Pleakly for additional ramp, we have the Baymax shift, and we also see Kida as 3 copies. She's a 4-drop inkable character, 3 strength, 3 willpower. She has ward, and when you exert her, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck. You put 1 into your ink while exerted and the rest on top of your deck again, so you can like prepare the next draw for your next turn. And since she has ward, she's a solid singer 4, because you can use her to sing together songs easily, because she can't be targeted by spells and songs. And we also see 1 copy of Radigan, the big boy, 8-cost inkable character, huge body. He has ward and quests for 4 lore. So against steel decks, he can be the game changer because he can't be targeted by songs and actions as well. And with his big body, it's so hard to take him out. The only downside, you have to ink in your turn. Other than that, you have to banish him at the end of your turn. But usually against steel decks, you can quest once or twice with ease and finish the game. For me personally, it feels like a bit of a win more card. You don't really need him if you're winning the game, but I think it's a cool inclusion if you go up that high in ink, which is no problem with this deck. And we also see 1 copy of Bend to My Will. You can discard the entire hand from your opponent, and 2 copies of Stop the Chaos right in its tracks. You can send up to 2 characters with 3 strength or less back to its owner's hand, so you can bounce your own Hades, or you can send high lore questers from your opponent back to his hand so he can't gain lore the next turn. Overall, a solid list, a strong list, and making top 16 in a huge field of Bologna is a big success for green blue. And I really like the look of this list. It's consistent, and the core is the same of every green blue deck, and has some spicy additions as well. If you want to copy this deck, I will link it in the video description below. And we go to the next list, which is also a little different from the ones I showed you already. This list here focuses a little bit more on this card. We don't see Bobby as a 1-drop, we have Basil in the mix now. And we have the Floodborn Basil shift. You can shift him for 4, and whenever during your turn you put a card into your inkwell, you can pay 1 ink and your opponent has to discard a card. So with this deck, you can ink multiple times during a turn, and you can just use and abuse the ability of Basil to discard your opponent. And we also see 2 copies of Bend to My Will. The rest of the deck is pretty much the same as before. We have the Baymax shift line to sing an early Under the Sea against aggro decks. But for ramp, we don't have Pleakly now. We have Donald Duck, the 5-drop. He's ramping you from top of your deck when you play him. And the rest is the same. We have Hades as spot removal. Of course, the Triple H Under the Sea combo with 4 copies of Under the Sea to have an edge against aggro decks and see Under the Sea constantly. And as I said, the rest is pretty much the same. The Clarabelle shift package is here to draw your cards. And yeah, a solid list if you want to focus a little bit more on discarding your opponent, since most decks struggle with card draw. Is a viable option for like going and attack the hand cards of your opponent. If you want to play this list, I will link it also in the video description below. And there's one more green blue list remaining, and it's my list I'm tending to take to my set championships in 2 weeks. And yeah, it has a spicy addition. I will show you in a second. So this is the list I've been testing with the last couple days, and it actually is the list I've been playing all set long. but with some spicy addition and changes. I took out the Scrooge McDucks and put in 3 copies of the 4-cost uninkable Belle from set 5. She's a 2 strength, 3 willpower character, quests for 2, she is ward, and when you play her, all your other characters gain ward until the start of your next turn. So this card makes the matchup against steel decks willing to take out your shift targets for Clarabelle shift easier and better, because you can protect your Clarabelles or your small Clarabelle, and so they can target it with a spell and take her out. The idea from adding this Belle came from JP, who recently attended the Enchanted Tour in Austria and also in DLC Bologna. He took a similar list to the mix and finished 5-3 in day 1. Unfortunately, he didn't make day 2, but he said Belle is the MVP of this list, making some hard matchups easier, because also in the mirror, if you play a Belle, your characters can't be targeted by John Silver, by Hades, by your Welcome or whatever, and your opponent has hard times of removing your board. So I was testing with Belle the last couple days, and I gotta say, she is a game breaker and a game changer. I really like her in the list. I don't know if 3 copies are needed, maybe I go down to 2, but other than that, Belle is really strong against those purple steel matchups and also against Blurple, and in the mirror she is really strong and I really like her. So if you like this look of the list, I will link it in the video description below. And yeah, I hope you like the choice of my green blue list, and there's only one color combination missing today, and that's Blurple. And even though I haven't covered Blurple all set long on my channel, I found some very interesting lists scrolling through Discords, through Dreamborn or Inkdex, and those lists I want to show you now. So Blurple is the most played deck in all of the format. Like if you look at the big tournaments, like 30 to almost 40% of the players bring a Blurple deck to the tournament, and the reason why is because it has good matchup against most of the decks out there. Only against the really fast aggro deck it folds sometimes on the draw, because it doesn't have the quick answers to a wide board. But I found really cool Blurple lists, and if you own 4 Dumbos and want to play the best deck in the format, I think you should sleeve in Blurple and take it to your set championships. But as always, practice and learn the lines so you know what you're doing, even though you are in a bad spot or against a bad matchup. Let's have a look at the first list here, and it's from JDRR, because he is the godfather of Blurple, and I think his Blurple list is like the gold standard of Blurple right now, and this is his most recent list. It's built on consistency, lots of 4-offs here. We play 6 1-drops to Rafikis and 4 Basil, and Basil has become one of the best 1-drops in the format, because you can use his support ability on other characters to trade into bigger characters on the opposing board. For a special Elsa 5, you can exert a character quest with Basil and then use 4 strength on your Elsa 5 to take out a threat on the opposing board. We play 4 Monstros here against green-blue decks. Monstro is necessary to take out those big bodies, and instead of second star to the right, JDR running 2 copies of Dig a Little Deeper in his most recent Blurple build. You can look at the top 7 cards and take 2 into your hand. It's like somewhere between Finders Keepers and second star to the right. It's like a decision in between, but it's cheaper and it doesn't get too clunky in your hand, and you can sing it with Monstro alone. I think overall this list is really solid, really strong against most of the decks in the format. We have of course Dumbo for some evasive power, we have Iago as well for some spot removal. We run of course 4 copies of Hades and Into the Unknown, and the rest is pretty much standard Blurple stuff. I think you can take this list, build your own favorite and comfort list from there, because this is like the core, the stock you need to have in your Blurple list. And yeah, if you like this list, I can't link it in the video description because I don't have a link right now, but you can pause the video right here, take a screenshot, and then build it for yourself. Most recently, I joined the flower farm, and even though I haven't played Blurple all that long because I don't own Dumbos, I can really recommend to check out JDR's free Blurple guide. I will link his meta file in the video description somewhere. And yeah, we jump to the next Blurple list I found at an Austrian set championship. And this list right here is from Stefan, a colleague of mine. We always chat about Blurple and the most recent Blurple builds, and this is his comfort pick. He took it to set championship in Austria in a small local game store and took second place with this list. He runs 8 1-drops with Rafiki and Basil, of course. Then we have 4 copies of Madam Mim Elephant and 2 copies of TikTok, which makes steel matchups easier because they are so hard to take out. And instead of running 4 Monstros, he added 2 big Elsas into the mix to exert and freeze up 2 opposing characters for a turn. The rest is pretty much standard Blurple steel with Ramp, Visions of the Future, Hypnotic Strength, Finders Keepers, and he runs 2 copies of Second Star to the right, which when you can pull it off, it's mostly game winning because you can sing it together with 10 ink worth of characters, and then you draw 5 cards and use your whole ink available for the cards you just drawn. So this list is pretty strong, and I gotta say, when I see Blurple list with Madam Mim Elephant and TikTok with my purple steel list, I really struggle into those lists. So if you kind of know you will face a lot of purple steel decks, I think this list is the way to go with TikTok in the mix because he's evasive as well. He can't be challenged really easily, and with his 7 willpower he's so hard to take out. The rest is Blurple standard with Dumbo and lots of evasive power, and of course 5-cost Belle to move some damage, which is a mirror breaker, and you really use Belle to take out opposing Dumbos in the mirror. I really like Stefan's list. I will link it in the video description below, and we look to the next list, which has some spicy additions we've never seen in Blurple before. So looking at this list, it looks pretty standard, but 2 cards are standing out here. For once, it's the 3 copies of They Never Come Back. It's a 3-cost inkable action. 2 characters, they don't ready at the next turn, and you can draw a card. So the characters has to be exerted, and so you can freeze them up. It's like a big Elsa, just cheaper and in the form of an action. So you can like prevent high lore questers on the opposing side from getting ready in the next turn and gaining some lore, or you can just freeze them up to take them out or whatever. And we also see 2 copies of the Magic Feather. It's a 2-cost inkable item, and when you play this item, one of your characters gains evasive as long as this item is in play. So you can give your non-evasive characters evasive, use the Dumbo effect, or use it on the characters to take out evasive characters on the opposing side just out of nowhere coming. For example, you can give Monstro evasive, and then you can challenge into an evasive heavy board and take out multiple characters in one turn. This is a huge play actually, and we also see 1 additional copy of a ramp card. We have 1 copy of 1 jump ahead, so you could play Tipo in turn 2, and then in turn 3 you can use Tipo to ramp again with singing 1 jump ahead. Other than that, we have lots of cards we've seen before. The gold standard of Blurple is there with Dumbo, all the evasive stuff, 5-cost Elsa, 5-cost Belle, Hades of course, Finders Keepers for draw, and we have 2 copies of Second Star to the right in this build. I really like the look of this list, and I really like the inclusion of 2 copies of the Magic Feather, because out of nowhere you can give your characters evasive. Your opponent probably won't reckon with this, and then you can strike back against evasive heavy boards. If you want to copy this list, I hopefully find the link to this deck because I really like the look of it. Other than that, just pause here, take a screenshot, sleeve it up, and have fun playing this list. I have one more Blurple list prepared for you, and yeah, let's have a look at this one. So this list is, yeah, pretty much Blurple standard. We have Madame Elephants, we have TikTok, so this list can be really strong into the purple steel matchup. We also have Scrooge McDuck here with his 5 strength, 5 willpower. He is so hard to take out, and he came out on turn 3 already with Ramp. And speaking of Ramp, we have 2 copies of Pleakly in the mix here, and Pleakly has the ability, if you play him, you can put one of your other characters into your Inkwell Exerted. What I like about Pleakly is he can like put one of your characters into your Inkwell, which would have been taken out by your opponent anyway the next turn, and then like exchange it or save it from being taken out and ramp otherwise. But Pleakly, on the other hand, he isn't the best top deck you want to see late in the game. And I don't like the fact that you are trading 1 card on your board for a 3 strength, 4 willpower vanilla card doing nothing or questing for only 1. If you would quest for 2, it's probably too strong. But yeah, there are only 2 copies of Pleakly in the mix anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. But if you are a Pleakly enjoyer and you can add him to your Blurple list and like toy around with it, play, test him, yeah, I will link this list in the video description below. And if you like it, sleeve it up. And I think we are done for today. And I really hope you like the decks and deck variations I showed in the video. I wish you all the best for your set championships. If you play multiple, good luck, and maybe you take a couple decks from the video to your set championships. If you're new to the channel, I'm always happy about new viewers, so hit subscribe, join the channel. Thanks for watching, see you next time, Flokki.